Hello and welcome back to my channel. We are back with Nigam sir in talks with Mr. Nigam Pandya. Today is the third episode. हमने पहले बात किया था इंट्रोडक्शन के बारे में, फिर हमने बात किया हाउ टू एक्वायर योर बर्ड्स एंड रिगार्डिंग द बर्ड कीपिंग. टुडे वी विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट द सेटअप. ठीक है, वी विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट द केजेस, वी विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट द स्पेस, वी विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट हाउ टू कीप द बर्ड्स इनसाइड द केज एंड आउटसाइड द केज ऑल्सो. So sir, welcome back to our channel.
Thank you, doctor.
And we've spoken a lot about the introduction, about the bird keeping, about acquiring the birds also. Now we will come to the housing part.
Okay.
So housing starts from small cages to big aviaries. तो as a beginner, as an amateur, मैं तो small cage से ही start करूँगा. So what sort of cages? ठीक है, if I'm taking a budgie, if I'm taking a cockatiel, a dove and a finch, तो what sort of cages for pets and for breeding purpose? तो हम एक एक करके लेंगे. पेट्स के लिए कैसे केजेस और ब्रीडर्स के लिए कैसे केजेस लगेंगे. व्हाट सॉर्ट ऑफ केज इज नीडेड से फ्रॉम बजीज टू फिंचेस टू कॉकटेल्स एंड डव्स फॉर पेट कीपिंग. कि मैं उनको कुछ खिलाने पिलाने का काम करूँगा, देखूँगा, खुश रहूँगा, बस.
ठीक है. See, I'll tell you, birds are basically, creatures of the sky. So आप जितना स्पेस दे सको स्पेस उतना अच्छा है.
Basically what he means is if they need flight.
Yeah, they do need flight, and every species of bird have its own requirement.
Yes.
So it's very difficult to generalize कि इसको ऐसा चाहिए इसको. For instance, I'll tell you, finches इतने छोटे दिखते हैं.
हाँ.
But they require but larger space.
Yes.
Because they are very active birds. They keep on hopping from one place to another.
Yes.
You won't find them on the perch even for 30 seconds.
Yes.
Whereas parrots, larger the parrot, more
calmer
stable
they are.
They are, and they don't require that. But anyway, you can have a thumb rule if you want to go. It's not that every bird would be treated with that thumb rule. बट आपको अगर एक जनरल ये चाहिए तो you should take the length of the cage 3 times the length of the bird.
Okay.
So say a bird is about a foot long, you should have at least minimum 3 feet long cage for it.
Yes.
Okay. Then wingspan उसका जो होता है, they open their wings like that, correct? So wingspan से थोड़ा ज़्यादा होना चाहिए, so that if they want to even take a hop flight, but not exactly a flight, but they hop from perch to flirt, where they can open up that wing completely. Okay, so that should be wingspan plus maybe 3 inch, 4 inch, 5 inch more.
Both sides.
Yeah. Okay, that much of width should be there, and height, you can take it as twice the length of the bird. 1.5 to 2 times the length of the bird should be good enough for a bird. That's what a general thing would work out to be.
So basically, talking in terms of the length and breadth or the height, the depth of the cage, in simple languages, a 2 feet cage is sufficient enough for a pair of finch.
Yeah, I would say yes.
A pair of finch.
A pair of
we
finch.
Cannot overcrowd it.
Yes. No way you can have more than 2, because see, they are very territorial also.
Yes.
Apart from their physical requirement, they have got their territorial requirement. So that also has to be kept in mind when you are housing your birds.
Yes. Because when we acquire the finches, they are young, and within 4 months they mature up.
Correct.
And after maturity, they tend to have territories.
When they start, having their hormonal phases, it's sometimes the finches would kill. Even a small bird would.
They would kill each other. So basically, finches are kept in flocks in the shops, but what sir would recommend is, we would recommend keeping a pair per cage. The smaller your cage, the lesser the number of your birds are going to be. If you want to keep it a flock, see, केज कितना भी बड़ा हो, केज होता है वो उसके लिए छोटा ही है. So no matter how big or long the size of the cage is, it's still small for them, but it is large enough for us to keep them happy in the cage.
Correct.
So a 2 feet cage is enough for a pair of finches. How about budgies?
Budgies also would be 2.5 is good enough.
2.5.
Again you have to see that you should be able to maintain that cage. In a large cage, sometimes it becomes very difficult to maintain the things, you know,
Yes.
feeding, cleaning, all those. So it's not as simple as you think, I mean. It's quite a complex thing.
Right.
And remember, bird is going to, you know, spend rest of their life in that space.
In the cage, yes.
So it is going to be their home. So I would say before buying the bird, you should be buying the cage. That's what I do.
Perfect.
That's what I do.
Yes, so before acquiring your birds, अभी आप पहले वीडियो देखोगे ना, उसमें बर्ड्स पहले लेने का बताया। अभी बोल रहे हैं हम लोग पहले केज लेने का, तो पहले ये वीडियो देख के वो वीडियो नहीं देखने का, पहले वो वीडियो देखने का, फिर ये वीडियो देखने का, लेकिन लेने के टाइम पहला केज लेने का, फिर बर्ड लेने का।
Correct. It is important. And do consult your senior, you know, or even you can ask even the trader. ये cage, what is it? Try to get as big a cage as you can afford.
See, we are breeders. We prefer those rectangle shaped, long size, free flight birds के लिए
Correct.
cages.
Don't buy fancy cages.
You buy fancy cages, वो घर वाले लो, but the size should be enough for the bird to fly from one end to the other horizontally, and when they flutter, they should not hit the walls of the cage. They would hurt themselves because their feathers tend to get stuck in the walls.
Mesh. Yeah. The wires.
Yes. One bird per hutment kind of a cage. One bird is more than enough in that cage because you cannot keep two.
So pets, you can, you know, have that fancy top on the
because mostly they are going to spend time outside the cage, not the finches.
Pet bird, they spend a lot of time. Most of the pet birds I have seen, they come out at least for a couple of hours a day.
Yes.
And they get also a flight of the room, or, you know, maybe the house.
They get
also
sufficient space.
So that is sufficient for them. But if you are housing a pet, I mean, try to see that, you know, they have sufficient space, not only for themselves, but when they breed also,
for their babies also, it is big enough.
For some period of time,
Yes.
not
always.
permanently.
So you need a spare cage for your babies as well. When the babies come, you need to arrange for the babies also, because they are going to be there forever with you. Or when you are going to cull the birds, some of the birds you are going to retain. You cannot keep them back with the parents, because parents are again going to come into season or say breeding stimulation. In that space, they do not need anybody else, even their own kids. Humans के जैसा नहीं रहता है, मेरा बच्चा नहीं
Yeah, correct. Once they are weaned, they'll be
it is a natural process to wean them off.
Yeah, they will chase them off.
Yes.
In fact, they will attack them. So it is, if you are a breeder, you would know. Once you have started breeding them, you know, there will be a time when they are weaned. That means they become independent. Okay, that is the time what we call as weaning. Okay, so once they are on their own, they start feeding, you know, and all that thing. So what happens is parents would start chasing them.
Yes.
Even pulling out their feathers and things like that. That is the time you should separate them. But during this period also, they require some amount of monitoring.
Right.
You know, because not all the birds would be of equal age. There may be a difference of a week or two between the first baby and the last baby. So what happens is you transfer them to a cage called nappy cage. It's just for, you know, monitoring the birds for another 15 to 20 days. Okay. Once you are satisfied that all the birds are eating properly, no problems with that, you know, you check their poop and everything, and you find that, then you can transfer them to what is called a flight cage. Because that is the time when their wing muscles and all are developing.
Right.
So they really need that flight cage. So what we do is, you know, we get these commercial cages. So we join 2 or 3 cages. Say I've got a 3-feet cage, so what I do is I add one more cage, okay, and I make the 6 feet flight.
Right.
So they can then fly, you know.
Right. They get enough flight.
Yes, it's very important because it's the time when they are developing their muscles.
Right.
So
they need a lot of flight. Babies need a lot of flight.
Yeah.
So coming down to the second question, what are the critical elements, say for setting up a cage for a bird, like species specification? See, Neophema and this Budgerigars, they are of same size.
Correct.
So you can keep such birds in the same size of the cage. So what are the critical elements that we should be considering before putting them in the cage?
See, Neophomas, I would say they require a bit larger cages compared to budgies.
Yes.
One reason is budgies are almost now domesticated birds. Okay, and they are comparatively quite smaller to the neophymas. I mean, so neophymas would require at least 3.5 minimum length of the cage, and you also require some height because neophymas it's their colors. So if you really want to enjoy your birds, and they should be sighted, the cages should be sighted, a lot of things, sighting of the cage, size of the cage, then whether it is going to be a breeding cage or whether it is going to be a pet cage, right? So all those factors will be taken into consideration when you want to.
Okay, so neophyma here, what we mean by neophyma is splendid
parakeets,
turquoise
parakeets,
parakeets. Okay. All these are colored. These are like koi fish of
Australian species of birds, but beautiful color. Not very often you get to see them. It's only the specialized
I'll be posting
breeders.
you some pictures over here.
Yeah, you can.
I'll post some
include
good
them.
pictures of different neophyma family.
Yeah.
So now we acquired the cage. So how to set up a cage? Like where to place the purchase?
Yeah.
What kind of purchase can we use? The feeders. How many feeders?
Purchase, should be always be kept on the two sides. Never,
two
ends, lengthwise.
Okay.
On both the lines, you can have one on the lower side, one on the upper side, so they get some lateral flight also. So that's one thing. Never clutter up your cage with lot of toys.
I tell you every single time. So all my clients also tell that the whole cage is cluttered with toys. They do not need toys.
Don't do that. See, for them, what you can do is you can provide them with fresh twigs to chew on. That's a very good enrichment activity for them. Instead of toys, you can do that.
Could you just name a few plants where we can provide the twigs of?
I would say moringa is very good. Then neem is excellent. Guava trees you can use. Mango, the tender ones you can use. Okay. So these are some of the trees. You will have a list of toxic and non-toxic. Lemon also can be given.
So how to, suppose we acquired the stems, before giving them, what should be the procedure?
You should be, first of all, they should be coming from organic source. Most of it you will be picking up from your garden or your friend's garden.
From the garden itself.
So that's not an issue, It should not be a commercial sort of a thing where, pesticides and all that thing is used. So once you do, what you do is you thoroughly wash it. Okay? So, and if possible, soak it for a period of time into a bucket of water. If you want to be very sure, you can use ACV.
Apple cider vinegar. Yes, perfect.
Apple cider vinegar, and then you can.
Next day morning, sun dry it.
And even if you give fresh, it's not a problem.
So even if you give soaked,
if I've soaked it in a ACV for a period of time,
that's fine.
Then I give them. So that gives them a lot of, they will roll into it. I even give, this durva grass.
Durva. Right.
So they like to really roll into that.
Grass eaters love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Grass eaters.
All neophymas and budgies and all that. Even rosellas, they love that.
Basically all grass eaters. They are all grass eaters.
All ground feeders.
Ground feeders. And now we are done with purchase. We are done with cage. How many feeders and what sort of
feeders? If you have more number of birds, it is advisable to have 2 or 3 feeders inside, because they have a hierarchy. So some of the birds which are in the higher order will not allow the lower rank birds to eat. So it is important that if you have say 3, 4, 5 birds, to have 2 feeders. Otherwise, if you have a pair and if you are sure, you can do with 1 feeder. Okay. And most of these birds which are ground feeders should have some amount of grain. I am not saying it is absolutely essential, but most of the time they should be having that grain, and of course fresh water should always be available to them in the cage.
Right. So by hierarchy, what he meant is, you remember one of my videos I had shown you that they have a pecking order.
The
That's alpha one, the most, क्या बोलते हैं, मर्दांगी वाला bird will come first to eat, and then the rest of the flock will follow him after he's picked up his favorite
Yeah.
seeds and fruit or food, whatever he wants. He will pick first, and then rest of the family will join him, or after he's done eating, they will come and eat. That is what he meant by hierarchy. Okay, then
And you could also have, small dishes for providing soft food. Like if you have,
with flat bottoms, they
flat
topple it,
bottom. Yeah.
and
Flat
where
bottom.
they cannot hold
And,
on to the rims also, they just
Yeah,
ulta kar
they
dete.
go eat it, and it should be, finished as soon as you put them.
Yes.
That's
Fresh food should
when
not
we
remain
come
in
to
the
the
cage
diet,
for
we'll
long.
talk about
Yes,
that.
yes,
But
during diet.
you should have some provision in the cage to put those things.
Yes.
Yeah.
For a breeder, we will be adding on a box. Box can be kept two types:
Yeah.
inside the
Inside
cage
the box.
and outside the cage. So
Preferable thing would be to keep it outside the cage,
Outside the
because you can monitor it. In case of any emergencies, sometimes what happens is chicks fail to break the shell, so they cannot come out of the shell.
Right.
You can hear them. So then sometimes you have to intervene and help them come out and all that thing. Then of course, for cleaning purposes and all that thing also, it is advisable to have the box on the outside.
Right.
That will also, keep enough space for them to move around freely in the
Right.
cage.
So what is the also the advantage of keeping a box inside, if there are any?
See, sometimes what happens is birds are very shy and they don't allow inspection, especially in finches.
Finches, right?
So what happens is, in that case, you put it inside this thing and you don't disturb them. You leave it to nature. So only you will come to know whether there are babies or not when the babies fledge.
Right.
Yeah. But with some species of birds, you have to do that. In that case, I would advise that boxes should be inside.
Inside for the finches kind of a species.
Yeah.
So there are some parrots which are nest builders, say like monk parakeets.
yeah, monk.
What would you recommend them?
Okay. Monk parakeet actually should be housed in an aviary, and of course, the larger the cage, height-wise, better it is. Because what happens is, they build a nest, and nest is quite huge nest. You provide them with twigs, and it's a globular sort of a round ball-shaped nest which they build. But of course, they also breed in the nest box. But if you want to really see the nest,
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
The only parrot who builds nest.
builds the nest. So you should provide them with an aviary. So aviary is of course a different aesthetics also you have to be kept in mind when you are planning an aviary. And again, you have to see whether it is an indoor aviary or outdoor aviary, or that sort of a thing. It's a very detailed sort of a thing, and very difficult to compress it in this 20-30 minutes.
Right. So I have a pair of monks. I have
Okay.
bred them in a 3 feet cage
Okay.
with a box on the outside, and had provided them with a mesh around the entrance of the box.
Okay.
When I want to stimulate them for breeding, I just provide them with the twigs.
Okay.
They build a nest outside
Oh.
the box
Correct.
so that they get the
Yeah.
stimulation of
Yes,
breeding
correct.
and nest building,
Correct.
and then the male starts peeking into the box and starts building a nest inside also.
Absolutely. For some specialized kind of breeders, you do all these things. For instance, Golians also. I mean, Golians in the wild were studied recently, and they found out what they need is a tunnel sort of thing, and then the cavity should be there.
Okay.
So now they have designed, I don't know, I mean, most of the commercial nest boxes which we use for Golians out here don't have that. But I would like to try that out and see the results. What is the difference?
But is it say this is happening in the wild?
Yes.
We all have domesticated finches.
Yeah, they will be quite.
Are there
different,
any
but,
chances that they'll replicate?
Yeah, they should. They should, because see, those instincts are hardwired.
Right.
So if you give them an opportunity, like you said, you gave some twigs and they started building a nest.
Yes.
So it is very, though they may have been bred in captivity for generations now,
Right.
those monks which you have, correct? But still, their instinct is intact. So whenever they get an opportunity, it will revert back to their original
Perfect.
habits,
Same is seen in Patagonian conures.
Okay.
They love to breed in those tunnels. They
Yes,
make a tunnel.
yes.
They are basically
Yeah.
building a nest in.
Lot of species of bird. For instance, your Princess of Wales.
Princess of Wales.
It requires a very, very deep sort of a nest
Yes.
box. So it will differ from species to species.
Okay, so we are in generally talking about the most domesticated ones. We got drifted a bit because we are most interested in birds which are more unique and a little bit tough to breed, and they need certain requirements. We are more inclined towards those. But budgies, finches, cockatiels, you either put inside
they
or out.
have
Both
standard
works.
nest boxes, and standard, of course, you can get it on the net also. You can ask in the comment section,
Yes.
and we should be able to provide the dimensions to you.
What do you recommend putting inside the box as the nesting material?
See, nesting material, many of the birds will take the nesting material, some of them will just throw it out.
Like budgies.
Budgies, they will throw it out. Okay, so ideal thing is to provide them with a concave initially. Okay, so when they lay eggs, they don't roll out and spread out. So if you have a concave, they put their eggs and they are able to hatch it in a much better manner. So once the chicks are born, then you can start adding little bit of wood shavings.
Okay, so after the chicks are born,
Yes.
before that we have to keep the floor in a concave manner.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
this is for all or just for budgies?
Mostly for all parrot species, I would say.
Okay.
So what happens? The advantage of this wood chips or the wood shavings is that it will absorb all the extra moisture. Okay? And then you can clean it up every 2 days or so. Depending on how many chicks are there. Maybe you will have to clean it once the chicks start growing up. You may have to clean it even on daily basis.
Right.
So,
So routinely cleaning of the nest
It's very
box
important,
along with
very
the
important.
cage is very important, because moisture also attracts a lot of flies.
Correct.
And
correct,
hence you
correct.
find maggots
Correct.
inside the box.
Maggots also you find.
Yes. Now we are feeding. We have put the feeders, we have put the perches, our box is ready, we have put the birds inside. Now we have come to feeding. General feeding, seeds and pellets. So seeds versus pellets.
Okay.
What do you recommend? If we are following
Pellets,
the American
pellets,
standards.
Yeah. That's true. Pellets are a recent development in India. Recent means maybe 5-7 years or so, something like that. But pellets are good. I'm not against pellets. But what happens is, there is a psychological need of the parrots.
Yes.
Their feeding times. Now it will provide a balanced diet, but that activity is lacking
Right.
of hunting for the food, then picking the food out of. So that's why seeds are essential part. It should be, but yes, pellets can be included. Especially when you are breeding or even off season, you can there are different types of
yes,
pellets
yes.
which are meant for off site. So you can have a good mix of say 50% pellets, 50% seed, or sometimes you may have to provide for finches. You have to provide live food, especially African finches.
Yes.
So now we have got even mealworms, cultures readily available. There is a company in India which provide. Yeah, so we have come a long way. I think.
Right. So we have a company for the live feedings as well.
Correct.
Like we have worms in fishes, we have super worms and normal worms also. I think crickets are also available now in India.
Crickets are available, then cockroaches are also available.
Roaches are available. Yes. Is it
Quite a few.
Ajinkya or Ajinkya? Mr.
Ajinkya,
Chopade?
yeah.
Ajinkya Chopade, if you're hearing me out, you need to sponsor me.
Ajinkya Chopade. Yes. He provides live, and it is delivered live to your place, wherever you are in India.
It is delivered live and amazing packaging. If I happen to keep African variety of finches in future, I would acquire them and I will show you the packaging. It's amazing. He's always there in some of the other pet related exhibitions. You can visit his stall and you can literally see the amount of this.
One of the programs with
I will definitely. In future. Thank you for recommendation. I'll just plan one day with him, and we'll just go through his company once, and I'll show you what sort of feeding is happening in India. Live sort of feeding. If you are having a lot of reptiles also.
Yes, reptiles
can be
also.
used for
Some
reptiles
mammals
also.
smaller,
marmosets and all. So this is regarding now feeding. We are feeding pellets or seeds. Seeds is recommended. I recommend my clients to skip the seeds throughout the day.
Correct.
Because a digestive system of a bird from mouth to feces is 2 hours. So
Correct.
after every 2 hours, even though they are not eating much in the afternoon, but early mornings and late evenings are their time to just eat a bit and off to sleep or off to the
Correct.
foraging.
Correct.
So as a pet keeper, do you recommend foraging or this for their mind development?
Correct. So that's what I said. I give that durva grass. So I sprinkle some seeds
Huh.
in that. You know. So that foraging
Foraging,
need of the
yes.
bird is even if you have some neem leaf, you can put it,
Right.
and beneath that you put, they will forage.
Right.
So that's a very good enrichment activity for them. It stimulates their breeding, and diet also needs to be changed according to there is a lean diet. Probably we'll cover it in one of the episodes.
Breeding wala episodes.
Breeding wala
Yes,
episodes,
yes.
or feeding wala episode. We can cover that. What are the different kinds of diets and when they should be allowed.
Also, foraging can be done in the form of you take a fruit and you hide the seeds in them.
Correct,
So that
correct.
even if your bird is not eating anything, if you have gone through my feeding wala episodes, I have shown you how to introduce fruits and vegetables. Not hide exactly, how to introduce fruits and vegetables by making a mixture of fruits. So if they want to go for a seed, they get a taste of the fruit or the vegetable,
Correct,
and
correct.
they sort of try or nibble at it. Once they get to know the fruit ka taste, they literally start eating it within a couple of months.
Yes. For fussy birds, we need to do that.
Yes. Okay, so this is regarding the pellets, the seeds, and the foraging. Now coming down to the fruits and vegetables. How many times do you recommend putting the fruits and vegetables in the cage, and for how long should they be there?
See, if you're feeding fruits and all, they should be fed first thing in the morning. Because otherwise, what will happen? They tend to ferment
Right.
in the system.
हाँ.
So सबसे पहले fruit गया तो वो निकल जाएगा.
Right.
Okay, so that is one thing. And fruits, once you cut them, they start fermenting very fast because we have got humid climate. So I generally, if I, the quantity should be very small. I mean, say a cropful per bird should be the norm. And after that, you can keep it for about half an hour or 45 minutes, maximum 1 hour. You should take it out and then provide them, and you can keep them hungry for a while, so everything is digested properly, and then after an hour or so you can put the regular seeds or something like that.
So seeds and pellets throughout the day, early morning and late evening.
Yeah,
you can
pellets.
give them
Yeah,
soft food.
pellets also you can keep if you are feeding pellets.
Pellets. Maintenance pellets. You get multiple pellets.
Multiple
we have multiple
type of
brands
pellets.
also of
And
pellets.
brands also. We have large number of brands.
Yes.
I do not know if any Indian brands are available, but large number of international brands
All are
available.
international only there.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is regarding the small spaces for cage keeping. Let's come down to a small talks regarding large scale. Say aviaries.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on what do you call them?
Size.
Suspended cages
Suspended.
and floor cages.
Flow cages, if you are sighting them outside in the garden or something like that, I am talking about the aviaries.
Aviaries.
You have to
Large scale.
have a specialized kind of thing, where you because rats, they really become a problem.
Yes.
So what you need to ensure is that you have enough of material, concrete material, or even wire mesh embedded in the thing.
Okay.
So that the rats do not get into the aviary.
If we have a concrete built up, how deep should the concrete built up beneath the ground?
It should be minimum around 1.5 to
2 feet beneath the ground.
Yeah.
And above
depending
the ground,
on the size of the aviary again,
Right.
I would say. Yeah.
so we need to have
And
a
then
concrete
you
built
should
up.
also that aviary should be that concrete should have rat treatment.
That treatment.
So that won't be affecting your birds.
Hmm.
But down below the rats won't be able to even because rats are notorious.
Yes. They'll
They
find
can
a way.
chew through,
Yes,
chew
yes.
through even the concrete.
Right.
So if that treatment is done, it's safe enough. Then of course there are snakes and other small creatures like garden lizard getting into geckos,
Right.
getting into the cage. So all those things, you need to take care of. On the lower part, you can have a smaller wire mesh of smaller dimensions, half by half or something like that, so that most of the creatures don't get. Then of course you can have sloping sort of a thing where they cannot climb it.
Right.
Of course, when we plan those aviaries with our clients, we do all those. Where is the aviary to be sited?
Right.
Then we have to ensure that aviary is sited such that we don't get the stronger currents of the winds,
Right.
because we have southwest monsoon.
Hmm.
So southwest side should be covered with a wall or some concrete
Right,
sort of
right.
a thing. So that is again the sun.
East to west.
East to west. So
Right.
morning sun, they should get morning sun and all that thing. Then of course the flight of the birds,
Yes.
number of birds to be kept, whether it is going to be used as a breeding setup or just a holding thing.
Hmm.
And of course suspended cages, where they are
Raised
above
from the ground.
raised from the ground.
Yes.
And what you can do is, on the pillars, you can have
Cone sort of a thing,
contraptions.
yes.
Yeah, contraptions which will prevent the rats from getting into that. And they are most easy, because what happens is those cages they have the wire mesh below also, so everything falls down, and you just use some water hose or something to clean them up. It's very fast.
Easy to clean.
So
also.
if you have a large setup and short of manpower, I would say the suspended cages are best.
Suspended is best.
Yeah.
So
And
your
even indoor aviaries you can have a lot of scope for indoor aviaries. I've seen some very innovative use of aviaries in small balconies and all that thing.
oh,
Yeah.
we would like to just go through the aviaries.
Yeah,
if we get a chance.
Yeah, I certainly would.
We will
Yeah,
stick
yeah,
one
yeah.
video to that and put
Yes,
up, we can show our
absolutely,
viewers what kind of
absolutely,
indoor small spaced aviaries
Your
and cages are
balconies
there.
can be converted into
Yes.
beautiful indoor aviaries.
We can do that. We can do that as well.
Yeah.
So, sir, thank you so much. Now, basics are done. Okay, moving on to breeding, mutations, and so on and so forth. We are going to take multiple episodes of that. So we will be talking more of breeding and more of mutations in upcoming videos. Stick around. If you have more friends who are into birds, who want to keep birds, you can show this video to them, ask them to subscribe, follow our channel, follow sir. I will be providing you with his number, not now, after the mutation wala episode. Till then, you have to go through our video, listen to his basic information and the knowledge which is imparted. You take everything from here and then you apply it to your mutations and breeding program. You will definitely be benefited out of it. I will be providing you the number, and till then stick around, and thank you so much. Thank you, sir,
Thank you
for
thank you.
having us.
Thank you.
We will be having more such
Sure,
sessions
sure.
and
My
we'll
pleasure.
be discussing more, and it's going to be long. So make sure you watch the video till the end, because it's thoda sa khichdi hai mutation wala. So
No, don't worry.
I'll see
We'll
you
try
then.
to make it as easy as possible.
Yes, and we would recommend books as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank
Books,
you so
articles, everything.